Guys, we have an absolute banger of a UFC card coming up in UFC 322. It is stacked from top to bottom, and I am excited to watch every single fight on this card, and today we're going to be breaking down as many fights as we possibly can with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. Like I said, guys, we're going to be breaking down all the fights as much as we can. We're going to be talking about betting odds when we can. I am incredibly excited for this card, and let's get right into it with the early prelim opener over here. And guys, we see Chepe Mariscal and Pat Sabatini in one of the most underrated matchups that we've seen in a long time, and this card is filled with incredible matchups. Let's break these two guys down. Let's get right into it for today. So we'll start with Chepe Mariscal. Chepe Mariscal, he's one of those guys that can do anything in the octagon and everything. He throws powerful and accurate shots through the chaos that he ends up creating, and he has great takedowns from the fence. He has good cardio, finishing instincts, judo throws, counters, and he literally in there and has already shown in his career so far that he has the heart of a champion. He has insane scrambles, dirty boxing, he has everything. Something that separates Chepe Mariscal from a lot of the competition, guys, is that no matter what, he never accepts any bad position. And he is always making sure that he's hitting you, no matter what position that he's in. He spends the entire fight trying to hurt you in literally any way possible. The guy is always improving, looking to sharpen technique everywhere, and supposedly he's been getting healthier and healthier with each bout. His nutrition is on point now as well, and he looks to be very healthy in the octagon, like just when you see him in weigh-ins and stuff. And guys, if you've been following the channel, I've been hyping this guy up for a while. I truthfully already believe that he is top contender material. I think he has a great future ahead of him. I've been watching him for a very long time. He is constantly improving and having phenomenal performances. I don't know where the guy's been, though. I don't know where he's been. He's going to be exiting his prime soon. We need some more Chepe Mariscal action over here. But yeah, guys, Chepe's been in the UFC for a little while, and besides that one matchup against Morgan Charrier, he has been extremely dominant, and this is a great matchup itself because he's taking someone else who has been severely under the radar and underrated as a fighter over here in Pat Sabatini. And dude, they've been making such good matches lately. I'm so excited for this opener. But let's break down Pat Sabatini over here. Pat Sabatini, he is a very dangerous grappler who is always live in a submission at any point in the fight. He is always looking for a finish and has brutal and precise grounded pound using both his elbows and his hands. We love that when he's on top, man. He has some serious skill and a decent stand-up game to back up that dangerous grappling that he has. Now, Pat has unfortunately been relatively inactive, but performing well in his last couple fights. His most recent loss was actually to Diego Lopez, which we've all learned at this point. It aged well. It is a completely 100% acceptable loss to have, and a bad matchup for Pat Sabatini. Then he quickly beat Jonathan Pierce, and then he had, shockingly in my opinion, a perfect performance against Joanderson Brito most recently. He took Brito down every single round, controlled him, and beat the crap out of him for multiple arguable 10-8 rounds. Literally, anything that Brito tried to do was defended. He looked amazing in his last fight, and I'm hoping that that's just Pat improving his game and not Joanderson Brito having a bad night, because, guys, if you've been following the sport, who does that to Joanderson Brito? That guy is a tough cookie, and he is a phenomenal fighter himself. And Pat has never looked good than he did in that performance. I think that we need to pay attention, guys, to how Pat performs in this next couple bouts to see if that he's actually reached another level in his MMA game. And the reason that I say that, in the next couple bouts, is because that Chepe is arguably even more of a dog than Joanderson Brito is, and that's saying something. Dude, phenomenal matchmaking by the UFC, man. Anyways, the stats are pretty similar besides Pat, age-wise, he's being out of his prime now, but he's still fighting very well and coming off of literally one of his best performances. And guys, like I said, I cannot wait for this matchup. I have been very open on this channel about how I've been betting on Chepe Mariscal. There are a few fighters that I just know with all of my heart will absolutely be fighting for my money. And I've been open that every single time that Chepe Mariscal fights, I don't care who the opponent is, I'm going to continue betting on Chepe Mariscal until the wheels fall off that train. I've been doing the same thing with Joshua Van. There's another fighter that I unfortunately isn't coming to mind right now, but there's a few guys in the UFC that I know they have all the skill sets, they have the potential, they will go in there and they will do their absolute best to win using their skill sets, their hearts. Chepe Mariscal is one of those guys, so I am going to continue backing Chepe Mariscal. I am going to be betting money on Chepe Mariscal, again, regardless of the opponent. But man, Pat is an animal. He has never looked better in that octagon, and I love this matchup. But who do I actually think is going to win, guys? I can't not go against Chepe Mariscal. if Pat happens to get him to the ground, first of all, I think that Chepe Mariscal has just as good grappling as Pat Sabatini. But I think he's just a little bit more of an animal in there. I could see them really damaging each other, but I think Chepe will work harder. If Pat Sabatini gets any sort of dominant position like he did with Joe Anderson Brito, Chepe's one of those guys who never accepts any sort of bottom position. Again, he's been improving, he's been looking healthier, but that's the same deal with Pat Sabatini a little bit. And that's why I cannot wait to watch this matchup. I'm going to pick Chepe Mariscal. I'm going to continue picking and betting on Chepe Mariscal again until the wheels fall off that train. Love this guy. Love both guys. It's one of those fights that it's just a shame that somebody had to lose, man. Because I want to see Pat Sabatini take on someone that is like not Chepe Mariscal. I want to see if he's actually improving because Chepe's a dog to deal with, man. I'm excited for this one. Chepe Mariscal is going to be my pick. I hope he gets the job done. Unfortunately, I also like Pat Sabatini, but I'm always cheering for a good old Chepe Mariscal performance. Let's take a look at the odds here. They're pick 'em. Guys, I know that we, for the membership purposes, we keep our bets private, but I've been very open about Chepe Mariscal, Joshua Van, and man, there's another guy that I always just bet on no matter what, and it's not coming to me right now. I've been very open, like I've been talking about. I don't care that Joshua Van is fighting arguably the greatest flyweight of all time. Don't care. I'm putting money on him. Doing the same thing with Chepe Mariscal, and those are phenomenal odds to get Chepe Mariscal at, guys. What a banger to start off this card. I cannot wait to talk about these fights today, guys. Chepe Mariscal is going to be my pick. All right, guys, let's continue on up to the next card over here. We have Malcom Wellmaker returning against Cody Haddon. This is another very fun matchup. I'm excited to see Malcom Wellmaker back. I'm excited to see him back in action. And Cody Haddon himself has a little bit of potential. Let's break down Malcom Wellmaker on the left over here first, okay? Malcom Wellmaker is a high-pressure striker who likes to be, you know, he likes to bring some chaos into his fights. He throws fast combinations, mixing in low kicks and elbows nicely with that. He also can wrestle, and when he's on top, he has shown to have nice and ground and pound. The only issue with Malcom Wellmaker is that he can possibly fade as fights go on. Malcom is now 10-0 with a perfect record in his prime and on an absolute tear since joining the UFC. He had a KO in the Contender Series, knocked out Cameron Simon, which, unfortunately, that might not be aging too well with Cameron Simon, but he still got a really nice KO there, okay? And then he beat Chris Moutinho in a perfect performance. Unfortunately, the talent level besides maybe Cameron is majorly lackluster for Malcom Wellmaker over here, but man, has he been on a roll. He's motivated. He's looking clean in there, and I am excited to see how he ends up performing. And Cody Haddon is going to be a little bit of a tough test for him, so I'm excited for this, okay? Let's break down Cody Haddon. Cody Haddon himself is a well-rounded fighter. He has good hands. He has sneaky takedowns behind those good hands. At times, Cody Haddon can get a little bit of sloppy. If he finds himself on the ground, he does have his defense too. His boxing, for the most part, is the best part of his game, and it's insanely crisp. He's high volume, he has good combinations, he has great power, and he can keep up that pace for an entire bout. Now, it is important to note with this matchup that Cody did take this fight on short notice, so if you're a betting man, that's definitely something to keep in mind here. You never know how somebody's going to show up on short notice. But so far, he's had one UFC performance against Dan Argueta where he just flat out had a pretty nice performance. Like Malcom Wellmaker, we still do have questions about Cody at a high level when, you know, fighting anybody of significance, and both guys are coming in. They're a pretty solid test for each other, so I'm excited for this fight as well. And unfortunately, guys, I need to see a little bit more of Cody Haddon to really sit down and pick him in a fight against a tougher contender over here, and I think Malcom Wellmaker is going to continue that streak that he's been on. I think it's going to take somebody with a slight step up to get one over on Malcom Wellmaker, but I'm not sold on this guy like being a top contender yet or anything along those lines. I'm excited to watch this fight. Malcom Wellmaker, he is insanely motivated. He's been on a roll, and I would imagine that he's going to catch Cody Haddon as well. Slight reach advantage over there. Probably not going to mean too much, but with Malcom Wellmaker looking as good as he's looked and Cody Haddon taking this fight on short notice, I'm going to pick Malcom Wellmaker to get the job done. Now, since this was a short notice replacement, we don't have odds for this, unfortunately, but every single other fight that we're going to be talking about does have odds. If you're, depending on when you're watching this channel, I record these videos pretty early before the actual UFC card, like I'm recording this before UFC Vegas 111 and uploading it before UFC Vegas 111. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe because we have early breakdowns all of the time. Let's get into another fight over here, guys. Another banger that the UFC put on for this card, and Roman Kopylov taking on Gregory Rodrigues. I am so excited to watch these two fight. I cannot wait for UFC 322, guys. I actually cannot wait. Let's start with breaking down Roman Kopylov over here. And Roman Kopylov is a 4-time world champion in Russian hand-to-hand combat. The guy is a fantastic striker with beautiful power, beautiful timing, and he has takedown defense to back up that amazing striking that he has. While his boxing and kickboxing are almost equally as good. I personally believe that Roman Kopylov thrives when he turns on with the kicks. Sometimes you can't count on that, though. Sometimes he'll show up with a primarily boxing game plan, and that's where you might see a little bit of a lackluster performance on the side of Roman Kopylov. Now, Roman is a little bit of an interesting one, guys, because if you follow the channel, then you might know I have been very, very high on his potential for a very long time, and I unfortunately think I'm ready to say that I might have been jumping the gun with him. I was a little bit wrong at this point. He still is a great fighter, don't get me wrong, but I was thinking like this guy would have made his way to a title fight. I really believed in Roman Kopylov in his future. I finally checked out after his most recent performance against Paulo Costa, where it's important to note that Paulo Costa really showed up in that fight, and he looked really nice in that fight. But I do think that I overrated his potential. He doesn't suck at all, again, okay, but I just don't know if he's ever going to find himself, towards the top of the division. On top of that, Roman's also exiting his prime. But other than that, he looked good in his 2 fights prior, beating Chris Curtis and Cesar Almeida, which both wins are pretty good wins to have. It's not anything crazy, but it's really solid contenders. And then his last loss that we have to talk about, we're circling back to like over 2 years ago. So he's good, man, and I really hope that he gets the job done over here. I like both guys, but I think I always kind of want Roman Kopylov to win. But let's talk about Gregory Rodrigues, guys. And Gregory Rodrigues is a well-rounded fighter. He has really solid power, and he shines when the guy comes in and he's swinging it away in a brutal fight. He also, behind all of that, has a really good BJJ game. A lot of fighters talk about Gregory and how hard it actually is to fight against him. He's often described as relentless, and it's like people talk about some sort of like different energy actually being across from him in the cage, but of course that's difficult to describe, but some people say it, okay? But there is one issue that I did want to point out with Gregory, and that is he has scar tissue above his right eye, and if you're a betting man, you need to keep in mind that scar tissue, is specifically where he has it, is insanely easy to cut open, and that cut can get really bad really fast, either causing him to lose rounds with damage-based scoring, or it could just be bad enough where the fight ends up getting called in the middle of it or between rounds, something like that. But anyways, Gregory just wowed me personally in his last performance against Jack Hermanson, where I actually thought that for the matchup, I thought that Jack was going to end up circling around him for 3 rounds. But he came in, had a good round, and ended up just knocking Jack Hermanson clean out. Prior to that, he lost 2 5-round experience, against Jared Cannonier, and before that, he beat Christian Leroy Duncan to cap off his win streak. And I am recording this video, like I said, I record these early. I'm recording this video before CLD fought last weekend, depending on when you're watching this video. Regardless of the outcome of that fight, CLD is a phenomenal talent, and that's a great, great win for Gregory Rodrigues. RoboCop is still in his prime. He'll be a little bit taller, and I would imagine that he'll be a little bit more imposing with his presence in the octagon. And this is another banger of a matchup, guys. This one's a little bit tougher to pick for me. This one's a little bit tougher. I would imagine that these two are going to come in and swing it out. Obviously, the way to beat Roman Kopylov is to really clinch up with him, turn on the grappling threat, turn on the grappling game. But RoboCop typically comes in with a striking game plan, even though he's very well rounded. So if Gregory Rodrigues comes in, but the problem is we don't know if he's going to come in like this. If he comes in with a solid game plan to come in and wrestle Roman Kopylov, wrestle, uses grappling, then I would pick him to win. He has more options there in Roman Kopylov. While he does have good takedown defense, I don't know if it's like Gregory Rodrigues level. He's been taken down before. But I imagine these two striking. When I imagine these two striking, I would give the slight lean to Roman Kopylov, but Gregory can be relentless in that cage. He could walk forward and kind of push through and kind of make Roman Kopylov a little bit uncomfortable in a little bit of a chaotic fight. I'm going to give a very slight lean to Roman Kopylov in this fight. Again, just because I imagine this being a kickboxing fight, and I believe him to be the better kickboxer. But the problem is, like I said, you can't always count on Roman Kopylov to come in with a kickboxing game plan. If he decides to make this a kickboxing fight, he'll do well, but sometimes he comes in and just wants to box. If that's the case, maybe the lean should be to Gregory Rodrigues. Very, very difficult fight to predict. You have two insanely tough guys over here. I'm interested in what an over 1.5 round would be on this, because I'm somebody who really likes to bet over 1.5s on fights where you have two insanely tough guys. That's these two. I like a 1.5 for this, but I don't like to bet on either side. I think this is a little bit like, I'm assuming Tapology has about the right odds over here. It's like a near even slight odds over here, slight favor for Gregory Rodrigues. I'm going to give like a 55-45 pick over to Roman Kopylov. I think just because he is the better striker technically, but I'm not going to count on that. Very, very difficult fight to predict again, but I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov. It's a shame that somebody has to lose this fight too, man, because I like both guys, but I like Roman just a little bit more. Gregory Rodrigues sitting at the average odds of -174. Oh, we do have round lines. Over 2.5. Come on. You know, I'd be comfortable with an over 2.5 if it wasn't for that scar tissue with Gregory Rodrigues. If Roman starts letting his hands go, I could see that cut getting open pretty bad, and then a fight could end up getting called. So I don't like a round line for that, but I like it to last at least a round and a half. If we're getting pick'em odds at over 2.5, I'm very interested to see if we get a 1.5. So that's something that I'm going to keep in mind personally. I wouldn't bet on this fight, guys. Maybe a round line. Let me know what you guys think about this one if you guys think differently, but I think this is a phenomenal matchup by two great fighters in the division. I got Roman Kopylov. Slight lean. All right, guys, let's keep going. We finally have the return of Bo Nickal. I have a little bit that I'd like to say about Bo Nickal, but he's taken on a tough opponent in Rodolfo Vieira. It's nice to see that Bo Nickal's not taking on any sort of can. I was afraid that the UFC was going to match him up with, like, you know, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but somebody to the level of a Cody Brundage. I was expecting that to be Bo Nickal's next matchup, but Bo Nickal is taking on a very tough fight over here, and I am excited to see it. We'll start by breaking down Bo Nickal over here on the left, okay? Bo Nickal, we all know at this point, is a very experienced and accomplished wrestler with some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to back up that wrestling game. Unfortunately, that's really all I can say. Bo has shown that he's not exactly quite UFC level, in my opinion. He is low volume, he has a subpar, okay overhand, and not so great striking in general, and judging by his last fight, doesn't really seem like he has the heart of a champion either, or heart in general. Now, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that actually is being his last performance against Reinier de Ridder. And depending, I don't care what you think about his last fight, Rainier's a good fighter, okay? And guys, I hate to say it, but I was waiting for this, because I knew that everybody likes, I know that everybody likes to talk about how crap of a fighter Bo Nickal is now, but I was saying that he wasn't all great all before these other guys were, okay? I saw nothing special in him. Yes, he is an extremely accomplished wrestler, but turning that skill set into MMA is just a completely whole other deal. But anyways, he even lost to the grappling exchanges to de Ridder, which isn't anything to be ashamed about, but he did lose. He looked horrible. He showed no heart or no will to win in there. He's in his prime. There is room for improvement, and he will have a reach advantage in this fight, but he's taken on, like I just mentioned, guys, he is taking on another underrated dog in there, and I'm really interested to see how Bo kind of actually shows up in this fight. It's kind of difficult, to be honest with you, to tell what type of guy he is to bounce back. Immediately after his loss, I would have been right there with you guys saying that, like, hey, Bo is going to learn nothing. He's going to show up the exact same way. After that loss, we all know everybody was making fun of him. He was very arrogant. He was very smug. He didn't get humbled one bit by that loss, in which you would think that one would be humbled after the loss that he took, but he was taking it like really bad. And of course, it isn't exactly hard to tell that he like lacked the mindset to improve in that, in like those podcast clips and something like that. But as time has gone on, recently he opened up just a little bit. He showed a little bit of humility. Maybe he got over it. Maybe the guys around him in the gym shaped him up a little bit. Who knows? So I'm not ready to sit here and say that Bo is going to be that same bitter, arrogant person that he was like immediately after he lost that fight. If you're a betting man, you need to take into consideration that in cases like this, iron does sharpen iron, and Bo could have very well made improvements after getting around in the gym again, and that's why we might have seen a little bit of humility from him. Maybe he just needed to let some steam out. On top of that, like I said, he is a very experienced and he is a very accomplished wrestler. Typically, wrestlers are insanely hard workers, and he wouldn't have ended up getting to the level that he was at in the wrestling game if he did not have a good mindset. But of course, the UFC itself is kind of like a different level of spotlight, and showing heart and grit in an actual MMA fight against one of the best fighters in the division is even harder. Again, people are off the de Ridder train, but he's a great fighter, objectively, okay? He was very green. He got into the spotlight too quickly, and that could be difficult to adjust to. And to get a little bit of personal with you guys, I've been making waves in the gaming space on another channel in the YouTube game. The first time that I actually ended up going through some major drama with that, like hundreds and thousands of people just like posting about you, name calling, lying about your character, things like that, it's surprisingly difficult to not get angry at. And this is coming from somebody who has his anger in check, okay? And I made some mistakes by replying to some people. And that's just like some YouTube gaming stuff. I can't imagine being thrown into the spotlight in front of the literal world, getting beat up until you quit in the octagon, and then having everyone just go, yeah, you're shit. I don't hold anything against him for the way that he acted, but at the same time, he kind of did deserve it with how he was yapping about like beating the top of the division. I'm going to beat Hamza Chimaev and kind of all of that. It's just something to maybe take into consideration, okay, guys? Last thing I do want to mention for those of you who do like to bet, keep in mind, guys, the UFC will always want Bo Nickal to win. They want him to get by Rodolfo Vieira so they can squeeze him back on the main card for the wrestling fans that will pay the pay-per-view price. And I know that we're still going to be getting some with Paramount, so they want Bo Nickal to win. There is a niche market for Bo Nickal, and they'll probably give it to him if they can. If they're able to get this guy to win into the octagon, I think that they're going to get the job done, okay? So I'm interested to see how Bo Nickal comes back. But let's break down Rodolfo Vieira. It's a little bit less I have to say about it, okay? He is a BJJ fighter with pretty decent hands to back up that grappling game that he has. He has good takedowns, he has great control, he has great patience, and great submissions. The only hard negative about Rodolfo Vieira is that in the past he has faded in fights before, but you can't count on that happening for him. At 36 years old, Rodolfo is still fighting very well, most recently coming off of a win against Andre Petroski in a decent performance, and to be honest with you, that fight could have gone either way. His only other fight before and, a big inactive layoff was against Armen Petrosian, where he looked really strong with a takedown and just fell into an arm triangle. The name value could be a little bit better, but they were still, unfortunately, it happened, right? But it's good to see him back after only 3 months because he's getting up there in age. He still does look good for his age, and he is also a very, very underrated fighter. So, again, I'm not sold on Bo Nickal coming in and just sucking again. But at the same time, I'm not high on his skill set. I don't believe that his skill set is UFC level. He might get there one day, but I still think it's crazy that Tapology has him listed as a favorite over here. I'm picking Rodolfo Vieira to get the job done. He's been in there with good fighters. He's a dog in there, and I can't pick somebody in Bo Nickal who it brings in just a general wrestling game. The grappling's okay. The striking needs a ton of work, and he doesn't have the heart or will to get the job done. Rodolfo Vieira could very well just push a pace flat out, being more experienced in MMA than Bo Nickal is. Rodolfo Vieira is a underrated fighter. He's fought some really good guys, and I think that he's fought people better than Bo Nickal and people that would beat Bo Nickal. I know that MMA math typically doesn't work all that well, but I'm still picking him to get the job done, man. I like Rodolfo Vieira. I don't even mind a TKO from his side. I don't mind. I am off the Bo Nickal hype train 100%. Rodolfo Vieira is giving me my pick. Let's see what... sorry, I used my wrong OBS. My wrong OBS scene over there. Still getting used to all my buttons over here, guys. Rodolfo Vieira is sitting at a plus 183 underdog. Guys, that's something that I might hit. But again, if you're betting, man, the UFC wants Bo Nickal to win. If he gets by in a decision, he might very well end up winning over there. Over 2.5 at plus money. That's interesting. I don't know about that one. I don't know. This is a potential for Rodolfo Vieira, guys. He's definitely an underdog opportunity, and he is going to be my pick to get the job done. All right, guys, let's keep on going up the card over here to Gerald Meerschaert back in the octagon against Kyle Dawkins, the Darce Knight. I don't remember him being that nickname, but maybe I'm just like forgetting it. That's kind of a funny nickname, to be honest with you. But anyways, let's break these two guys down. It's good to see both guys back in the octagon. We'll start over with Gerald Meerschaert over here, and Gerald Meerschaert, guys, is a grappler who has okay boxing on the feet. His game plan is always to come in, just take his opponents down and work in that grappling. He has a ton of high-level experience, and he has been in there with some of the best fighters of all time. The guy's been in the UFC forever. Now, unfortunately, his age is showing big time now. His striking has been incredibly slow recently, and he has been gassing later on as the fights end up going on. He's on a pretty bad 3-fight skid. Most recently losing to Michael Olekstruck, where I hate to be disrespectful, but he's never looked slower and he's never looked more washed. He threw the slowest, worst takedown I have ever seen and just got knocked out. Before that, he struggled against Brad Tavares, which, to be fair, a fight with Brad Tavares is a bad matchup for GM3. Then he had a sloppy mess against Reinier de Ridder. You have to go back to over a year ago for a win, but even in his last win against Edmund Shabazian, he didn't exactly look so good in that fight either. He's taken a lot of damage over the years. He's had countless number of fights. He's 37-20 now. And I just think personally that his body's done. And I hate to say it because I've always loved watching Gerald Meerschaert fight. I really want him to win. I just have to be honest here. I hope that he gets the job done. I will always cheer for Gerald Meerschaert, but I don't think that his body can keep up anymore, unfortunately. I think that he is well past his prime. But let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum over here, Kyle Dawkins. He is a good grappler with okay but seemingly improving striking. He has good takedowns with good takedown defense if somebody else wants to come into that game, along with a decent clinch game behind that. Now, Kyle is on a really nice win streak, returning to the UFC after being cut. He shocked a lot of people by knocking Michel Pereira clean out for his return fight, and something that I spoke about with Kyle prior to that fight in the breakdown video was that Unfortunately, I just haven't watched any of his fights outside the UFC, and I know how that sounds as a betting man and as someone who comes in breaking down these fights and, gives advice for you guys, because I'm typically very knowledgeable about the sport, but I always do want to be transparent with you, okay? I know the vast majority of guys in the space and a ton of fighters outside the UFC coming in, but I just never kept up with Kyle Daukaus, and truthfully, I do find it hard to believe that all of these experts on YouTube are doing very differently. They probably, I imagine them watching a highlight video somewhere and then just coming into their videos, but like, Kyle Daukaus is just on a roll, guys. But again, I always want to be honest with you guys. So what I spoke about in the last breakdown video was that I wasn't sure if Kyle Daukaus improved at all. He got wins, but I know nothing about them. He came back into the UFC, he fought Michel Pereira, he clocked Michel Pereira, and he just looked good. But the problem is that fight itself was only a minute, so I still can't sit here breaking down this fight saying, yep, Kyle Daukaus, he's back, he's ready to go. I can't exactly say that even in this bout in the next video because GM3's washed. So we'll see in time if Kyle Daukaus or how Kyle Daukaus is transformed or, if he's just a different level of talent. But anyways, he'll have a slight height advantage over here, shockingly a reach disadvantage, and he's still in his prime, man. He's looking good. And I hate to cheer against a guy like Kyle Daukaus with a story, getting cut from the UFC, coming back to the UFC, getting a nice win. Typically, that's a story that I like to cheer for. But I can't not cheer for Gerald Meerschaert, man. I've loved watching this guy fight, and I can't see this happening because the guy's a dog. He's always fighting. I want Gerald Meerschaert to come in, get a really slick submission win right away, right off into the sunset. That's what I would love. Give this guy a retirement package. If we give one to some, particular subpar fighters, GM3 definitely deserves one. But I don't want to cheer against Kyle Daukaus either, man. I like these guys making something for themselves, GM3's at the end of his career. Kyle Daukaus back in the UFC, ready to go, has a ton to give the sport. But what do I think about the matchup? I can't pick Gerald Meerschaert to win a fight. I can't. I don't care what Kyle Daukaus brings to the octagon. Gerald Meerschaert's slow, he's gassy, he's old. He's never looked worse in his last performance. And Kyle Daukaus has some power in his hands now. I think he's going to chin Gerald Meerschaert. I think he's going to come in here and just completely steamroll him. I hate to say it, but I don't see anything other than that happening. But I hope that I'm wrong. I hope GM3 gets a job done. I hope we see a big underdog win over here. And I would imagine that GM3 is a big underdog. Only 258. I thought that number would be much bigger. I thought we'd see Kyle Daukaus in the minus 500 area, to be honest with you. I mean, he has the average odds of minus 343. But this is, in my opinion, the lock of the week. Like, there's no way that Kyle Daukaus should be losing this fight. I hope he does. Nothing against him. But I don't see this fight going any other way. All right, guys, let's keep on going with this one. We have our girl back over here, Angela Hill, and she's taking on Fatima Cline. And I'm actually kind of excited to watch this fight because I'm excited to see Fatima Cline over here. And guys, I'm not an Angela Hill hater. I'm not. I just don't think she's a great fighter. We're going to get into it, okay? We're going to talk about her, okay? Let's break down Angela Hill first. Now, Angela Hill, she is a relatively well-rounded fighter who can compete in most scenarios when it comes to the MMA game. She's one of those fighters that is okay but doesn't shine anywhere. Now, guys, we're having the same conversation again with Angela. I always come down here with these breakdowns. I say she sucks. You guys comment down below saying she's not crap, and we're probably going to repeat this cycle over again. I have absolutely nothing against Angela Hill, but I just do not think that she's a good fighter, okay? She has always been a win one, lose one type fighter. I don't know how she pulls together wins, winning against subcar competition for the most part. She's literally 18-15, guys. I do not think she's a good fighter. She's 41 years old now, and she's going to fall off of a cliff soon. I can't believe that she scrapes by and gets wins. There isn't even anything that I can really point to recently. Like, her last good win was about 2 years ago against Luana Pinheiro. She lost to Ricci, barely won against Ketlin Souza somehow, and then ended up getting outworked by Eisman Lucindo most recently. Like I said, she is almost 41 years old. She'll have a height and reach disadvantage, and she'll probably come in here and look the same as usual. But if it's Angela Hill, she might just be able to pull off the win. I don't know. Well, let's break down somebody with actual potential, in my opinion. That is Fatima Cline. And Fatima Cline is a fighter that is training with and close with Erin Blanchfield. And she is a decently well-rounded fighter, but she's one of those fighters that absolutely shines in the grappling in the division. On the feet, she's aggressive, but the striking could definitely use some work. Honestly, kind of think Erin Blanchfield, She does have decent power, though, and she kind of does have good finishing instincts. Think about that, same kind of style. Now, after suffering her first UFC debut loss to Jasmine Jastovicius, which is a good loss to have, and a really, really tough fight, UFC debut to be handed, She then went on to win her next 2 fights against Victoria Dudakova and Melissa Martinez, which they're okay. Like, name-wise, they aren't too bad. She beat up Victoria, and she was winning the entire time against Melissa, and then got a really nice head kick finish there. Like, that's probably the one that put her on the map with the MMA community. And she's only 25 years old. She'll have a reach advantage here, and she has great potential in the division, and I'm actually excited to watch her come in and perform again. If she actually knocks out Angela Hill, that'll say something, because while, like, with all of the crap that I actually just talked about Angela Hill, realistically, who finishes Angela Hill? Nobody does that. That'd be crazy if she ended up getting a finish. But her and Aaron are going to be on the same card. They're working together. They're mixing in their styles. She might even have a little bit more potential than Erin Blanchfield. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. Just maybe. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see her perform. They're probably just like working on each other like crazy, these two. I'm definitely picking Fatima Klein. Again, I don't think Angela Hill's good. I think Fatima Klein's younger. She has all the potential in the world. She's coming in on a win streak, hyped up. I think she's a good fighter, man. I'm picking Fatima Klein to get the job done. Let's see what the odds are over here. And she is a big favorite. Big favorite. Minus 428. These are proper odds. But at what point do we sit down and we say that Angela Hill has an underdog opportunity? Because sometimes she just squeaks by somehow. I don't know how she does. She wins somehow. She sometimes wins. I don't get it. Fatima Klein is going to be my pick to win, and I'm ready for your comments about Angela Hill being a good fighter somehow with 18-15 as a record. And guys, I do owe you a little bit of an apology, because I said that every single fight moving forward would have odds, but I didn't know that this fight doesn't have odds, so we're just going to be breaking this fight down and predicting it. We have the return of Baisangar Susarkayev, and I'm sorry, I'm working on the names. That one's really bad, and he's taking on Eric McConaughey. I always feel bad, and I always like cringe at myself a little bit when I mispronounce big time with people's names, because it appears that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I assure you I know what I'm talking about. I've watched him fight plenty of times. I think he's a good fighter. I'm excited to break this fight down, okay? So we'll start with Baisangar Susarkayev. I just haven't said enough to get the hang of it yet. It looks so stupid, man. But anyways, Baisangar is a very dangerous grappler who is always live for a submission. He is always coming in, he's always looking for the finish, and he has brutal and precise ground and pound if he gets on top of you, using both his elbows and his hands. He's good at doing that. He does have some serious skill, and a decent stand-up game to back that up. And guys, he's a little bit of an interesting one, because he had a ton of hype off the Contender Series, a ton of hype, and his UFC debut didn't exactly live up to that hype that he was coming into the UFC with. But to be fair, okay, what a lot of people seem to be forgetting is that he took this fight on 4 days' notice after already fighting. In that fight, he won the fight, don't get me wrong, okay? But it wasn't a clean win. He lost the first round. He was playing around way too much in there and ended up getting rocked at the end of the round. And if the bell didn't ring, he was going to lose by TKO 99%. In the second, he ended up blowing Nolan's knee out, with a kick, and then found a submission. That performance left a sour taste in a lot of the MMA community's mouths, because he was in that octagon just laughing and acting like he was the best fighter of all time in there. But the skills and the performance did not match that attitude that he brought into the octagon. But I don't want to count him out yet again, because that fight did have some circumstances to it. And I think that this performance is going to tell us, honestly, quite a bit about, where he might be headed in his UFC career. But he's 10-0 in MMA right now. He's looked good in the past, even though the competition level was poor. And he's only 24 years old. Tons of room for improvement here. I'm not ready to count him out, but he does need to fix that little attitude that he has, the Khamzat Chimaev attitude. He's not that good yet. But let's talk about Eric McConaughey. And Eric McConaughey is a powerful, wrestling-heavy fighter with finishing ability. He looks to close gaps, get takedowns, and utilize his ground and pound or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. After losing his UFC debut on short notice against Nursultan Ruziboev, he bounced back with another short notice fight, this time with literally a few days' notice against Cody Brundage. He won, but unfortunately that fight was a big robbery in a lot of the fans' opinion, my opinion as well. So I'm kind of left here saying the same thing, where I don't exactly know where Eric ends up fitting into the division here. Both of his UFC fights were on short notice, and prior to that, there isn't anything to go crazy about. Like I just mentioned, we'll have to see what he does and where he fits into the UFC. He's 35 years old, almost 36 years old. He is exiting his prime, and he will have a couple inches of a reach disadvantage in that bout. It's tough. Again, I'm not convinced of either guy. I don't know what to think. I'm interested to see. I wonder what the odds are for... we don't even have the odds for this one. I was just thinking, I wonder who's going to be the favorite. It's probably going to be Baisangar. It's probably going to be him as the favorite. He's probably going to be a little bit of a better grappler. I'm going to trust in him. He's only 25. He has a lot of room for improvement. He was looking really good before his last fight. I'm just not convinced. I'm not sold on either guy, to be honest with you, man. I'm going to reluctantly pick Baisangur Susurkayev to get the job done over Eric McConaughey, but it's a low confidence pick. We need to see more from both of these guys. Let's continue on up the card over here, guys, to cold-blooded Erin Blanchfield, the teammate of Fatima Klein that we were just talking about. She's taking on Tracy Cortez in a fight that has been rescheduled. Am I remembering that correctly? I think I am. Yeah, this fight got pulled, didn't it? Why am I misremembering that now? I'm having second guesses. Regardless, it's a good fight. These two matchups. They have a full training camp and everything. It's not a short notice put together fight. Let's talk about them. Erin Blanchfield, Tracy Cortez. Okay, we'll start off with Erin Blanchfield over here on the left. And Erin Blanchfield is a high-pressure, come-forward wrestler with relentless pace and ground and pound if she's able to get that working on you. She's super tough. She has great cardio, and she's very good at listening to the corner, which I always say is sad to mention about a fighter, but she's good at it. Now, recently found out, unfortunately, that's kind of like all she is. Her striking needs a lot of work, and if she can't impose her will and get things working on the ground, she does struggle in that octagon. And she struggled in that one fight recently against Manny Farrow, which the loss has aged well, but she walked into punches for 5 rounds and lost that bout big time. She was tough, and she did what she could, don't get me wrong, but unfortunately, she just was outmatched in that bout. But then she did bounce back against Rose Namajunas in a good fight, ended up getting the win there. A little bit of a past her prime version of Namajunas, but still it's a good win. Before all of that, though, she was just running through the girls in the division. And I really thought that Erin Blanchfield was going to be something special in the division. I was wrong in that. But so far, it seems like that she's going to be probably just another top contender. Hang on, you know what? I don't know. She does have potential, though. She's only 26. She's not even in her prime yet. Already suffered her first big loss. And she kind of seems like the type to, internalize losses, get better from them, learn from them. So what was I saying? I don't know. She can bounce back. I was wrong. She already has bounced back, actually. She just didn't look like the killer I expected to show up against Manny Farrow and didn't look like that killer against Rose Namajunas. Yeah, she has potential. What am I saying? Anyways, let's break down Tracy Cortez, guys. Tracy Cortez is a great wrestler with vastly improved striking throughout her career. She's accurate, and compared to the division, she is a powerful striker. She still does need to work on her striking defense, though, but that seems to be constantly improving in most fights that we see her in. Now, Tracy Cortez has been a very inactive fighter, only recently fighting about 4-ish months ago against Viviana Rougeau, where she came in with a strong wrestling approach. She had a decent performance. She was working in the ground and pound. She got the job done. We didn't really get to see much of the stand-up, see if she was improved in there at all, but again, she got the job done. She's in her prime. She'll be at a slight reach disadvantage over here. One thing I do want to touch on about Tracy Cortez, though, before we predict the fight is that I still question her motivation, okay? She says all of the right things whenever she starts talking about fighting, like she's motivated and all of that. But I just struggle to look at this objectively and see her being as motivated as somebody like an Erin Blanchfield, for example. She's doing she's been doing the rounds with various podcasters, always attending different events. You just see her doing things around with like different streamers and kind of things like that. She's always going viral for something. I just question how much time she's probably sacrificing in the gym because she has to be. She has to be sacrificing time in the gym. I'm not saying that she's not training or anything, but I would be surprised if she's training as much as somebody like Erin Blanchfield or so these other girls in general. Also, let's be realistic here, okay? Most people find Tracy Cortez to be a very, very beautiful woman, and whenever she's online or in some sort of streaming phase, she constantly has men drooling over her, probably willing to give her whatever she wants. That has to create a type of person who isn't exactly motivated to work as hard as someone like maybe Kayla Harrison, for example. I'm just trying to look at this as objectively as we can. As people who bet on this sport, I believe it's important that we take these things into consideration when we're breaking down these fights. And I struggle to see Tracy Cortez having the same kind of dedication and mindset as somebody like Erin Blanchfield. Can she beat the lowest tier girls in the division? Absolutely. But Erin Blanchfield's a step up in competition. So when I sit down and I predict this fight, I think that I like Erin Blanchfield in this bout. I actually think Tracy Cortez will probably have better hands. And I would just imagine that Erin is going to come in. She's going to be stronger. She's going to grab Tracy Cortez and she's going to drag her to the ground. Even if Tracy comes in with a grappling heavy approach, I think that Erin just might have a one-up on her in the grappling. She's going to be more ferocious. She's going to want to probably win the fight more. She's going to have a higher pace. I like Erin in this matchup. I'm feeling good about picking her, man. Even has a reach advantage over here. She's going to be a little bit smaller. It doesn't really matter, the 1 inch. I feel like when they match up, Aaron's just going to be like a little bit more imposing. So if I want to bet, I think I'd have to wait for the weigh-ins to see the matchup for this one. But I do like Aaron. I think she's going to be more gritty. She's going to be, Tracy can throw down though. That's the thing. I think Aaron is a more motivated and scrappier fighter than Tracy Cortez. I think she's more dedicated. I think she's going to get the job done. She's a little bit better skill-wise. So again, I am going to pick Erin Blanchfield to get the job done, and I hope that she wins. I like watching Erin Blanchfield fight, man. And Erin Blanchfield is setting the average odds of minus 180 over here, with Tracy Cortez sitting at the average odds of plus 145. Let's see what we got over here. Over 2.5 minus 400. Yeah, I can't really see a finish in that fight. Tracy's a pretty tough cookie. So Erin Blanchfield, even if she gets the grappling working, the ground and pound going, she's gonna have to like Molly McCann it and like crucifix Tracy Cortez for that fight to get stopped. I like Erin in this matchup. I'm going to pick her to get the job done. I hope she gets the job done. But guys, as you might know, I talk a lot about betting on this channel. If you are interested in either seeing where I'm putting my money where my mouth is, or either supporting the channel, you can check out the channel membership in the pinned comment description down below, or right next to the subscribe button every single Friday or Saturday morning, depending on whether or not I'd like to bet on any Friday fights, because I am primarily a UFC bettor. I'll be posting a community members post with my list of bets and a community members only video diving into why I am betting on the fighters that I'm betting on. So again, if you want to either support the channel or combine my fight knowledge with your own research, then you can check out the channel membership, which is very cheap compared to other channels. Pinned comment, description down below, or again, right next to the subscribe button. I really appreciate you watching this video. I appreciate all your support from everybody. Additionally, a tool that we use on the channel over at OddsJam, if you'd like to sign up to OddsJam, again, the pinned comment description down below using my link and code Clenbat. You can get a discount signing up to OddsJam. It's phenomenal if you have multiple sports books. I appreciate you listening. Let's get into the main card, guys, and this is a banger of a main card. Kicking things off, guys, we have a top contender matchup here in Sean Brady taking on Michael Morales. Incredible fight. The guy who wins this is probably going to be next for the title shot, depending... Yeah, I think probably either way is going to be the next title shot contender. I can't see if Ian Gary beats Bilal Muhammad, him getting the next title fight. It's probably going to be between these two men. Oh, I cannot wait to watch this fight, man. Let's break it down, okay? Let's start with Sean Brady over here. And Sean Brady, guys, Sean Brady is an incredibly strong grappler. He will want to dominate you by just getting you to the ground and completely working you. He has 5-round, insane cardio, insane pressure, with improving striking behind all of that. He's solid leg kicks as well. He is, on top of that, very close and trains with Joe Pyfer, and I believe that these two together are the literal definition of, like, iron sharpening iron in there. So, I believe these two training together is important to note. And Sean, man, he has been on an absolute roll after losing that one weird fight to Bilal Muhammad, which that ended up aging well in itself. I can't really grasp the idea of a Bilal TKO win still, but the loss is a loss. And since then, he dominated Kelvin Gastelum, which is actually an underrated thing to do. Then he had some questions answered that we had against Gilbert Burns, showing that he can come in there, he can come into that octagon and keep up his suffocating pace for 5 rounds. He showed that he had a chin after that Bilal fight, which still doesn't make sense to me. And he showed that he has the heart to win. And he proved himself, in my opinion, to be a top contender. He then carried that same energy over to Leon Edwards, where he looked great. He came in, he was working his game, and even showed off a little bit of improving striking to Leon Edwards. I will say, however, while I have mentioned a couple times now that Sean Brady's striking is improving, it still does need work. Leon himself was able to counter quite a bit, but he's been looking phenomenal in there. He's been looking like a future champion, guys. He's in his prime. He has all the motivation in the world, and he is, if he doesn't even win this fight, I could very well see Sean Brady becoming a champion one day. This is excellent matchmaking by the UFC. But let's talk about Michael Morales, man. Michael Morales is a well-rounded fighter with accurate technical striking. He is very good, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in a second, at remaining calm and patient and countering his opponents. He has good power, he has good speed, and he has really solid fundamentals. He also does a great job utilizing calf kicks to stop his opponent's momentum moving forward. The only issue that I want to talk about Michael Morales over here is, and it's weird that what I'm about to say, because it's also a good thing at the same time. He's just so calm in that octagon. I know he hasn't said this himself, but it seems like he just like goes in there knowing that he's going to win. He's so calm to the point where he can eat big shots with the confidence that he's just going to get you back and easily and end up finishing you. He's so calm in there that it gets me worrying on his behalf. One day Michael Morales is going to get chinned fighting like that, but so far so good. It's worked out for him, and Sean isn't exactly a guy that you have to worry about chinning you. It's his training partner. So I doubt that we're going to see that problem come up in this particular fight, but it's something to note, okay? He's 18-0, he's undefeated in MMA, and for the most part, he has been steamrolling the entire competition. Most recently, just killing Neil Magny and killing Gilbert Burns. He's been on a roll, and again, excellent matchmaking by the UFC. The only stat that I wanted to mention about this is that he'll have a pretty good reach advantage here, and that's something that he might be able to take advantage of, and I should have mentioned too, I forgot to mention that he isn't even in his prime yet, guys. Both guys have been looking insanely good. Whew, who's going to win this one? I think the odds are, like, if Tapology has him correct over here, I think the odds at a pick'em is how the fight should be. Oh, man. Both guys look so good, man. I think I want to go with Michael Morales. Again, I love the calmness in there, and I think that's going to work out well, Sean Brady. Like, when I was talking about this, I know that Michael Morales is going to get chinned with the way that he fights one day, but I don't think that he has to worry about that against Sean Brady. And I can't still wrap my mind about Sean Brady losing by TKO to Bilal Muhammad, but then he ate some good shots after that fight. Michael Morales comes in, though, and for the most part, he's just been killing people. He's 18-0, hasn't even lost yet. He's not even in his prime. He's going to have a big reach advantage over here. I definitely would not shock me one little bit if Sean Brady continued working and got the job done his way. Again, he has some great training partners behind him. He's very motivated. He has the heart of a champion. 5-round experience now against good guys. When I try to sit down and I envision this fight, I kind of think that Michael Morales is going to just kind of continue walking in like he has, just not care what Sean Brady's going to do, and he's just going to go in there and finish him. I think that's the most likely scenario for this fight if you were to predict one, but I can see this one going either way. I don't think this is one that you should be betting on, but I'm going to pick Michael Morales. It's a little bit more of a gut feeling for that one, because again, I think that Sean Brady's amazing. Let's see what the odds are over here, and the odds are basically at a pick 'em. Michael Morales, slight underdog, the average odds of plus 104 with Sean Brady at minus 130. I understand that, especially with the way that Sean Brady's been performing recently. We have over 2.5 at minus 222. I don't mind an under. I don't mind an under for a Michael Morales finish. If you like Michael Morales to win, see what his knockout prop would be. I'm not one to bet on props. I don't like getting that specific. I'm a big money line guy. Like, if I were to bet on Michael Morales, I would just bet on him as is there. But I don't mind him getting a knockout in this one. But again, probably one that you shouldn't be betting on in general. I'm going to pick Michael Morales to get the job done. I kind of hope Sean Brady wins, though. I've liked what I've seen from him so far, man. Nothing against Michael Morales. I'll probably root for Sean Brady in that one. All right, guys, let's keep going on with the card over here to one of my favorite fighters, Beneil Dariush, and he's taking on Benoit Saint Denis, a fighter who had all of the hype off of him, and now the hype is back on him, guys, after his last win. We're going to be talking about that. Let's break down Beneil Dariush first. And Beneil Dariush, guys, he has always been a decently well-rounded fighter, but primarily a grappler. He has good technique on the as well, even though, like, don't get me wrong, he's a great grappler, primarily a grappler, but he has great technique on the feet. He has heavy hands. He has sneaky timing on his shots. He does well on his scrap, but if things, can get working on the ground, he can be a major problem for most fighters. Now, I want to mention something that I heard recently, and Luke Rockhold described him very well. He's tough to deal with if you, I'm paraphrasing, okay? If you crank him, he turns into a zombie, and he starts coming at you like there's absolutely nothing that you can do except fight him harder. I like that description of him. Now, unfortunately, Beneil Dariush is past his prime now. He is a little bit chinny, not nearly as explosive as he used to be, and his reaction time isn't really as much as it used to be anymore, He's still got it, though. At 23-6, he just showed that he still has it against Renato Moicano just a few months ago. He came in, and he put a pace on Renato Moicano for 3 rounds, okay? He fought very well in general, but his kicks in particular in that fight were kind of, super on point. So, hey, maybe that's a new weapon they added to his arsenal. Maybe we need to worry about the big kicks of Beneil Dariush now. And before that, guys, I was talking about how those 2 losses that he had to both, Armin Tsarukyan and Charles Oliveira. Yes, he got finished, but he got finished against 2 of the best lightweights to ever do it. There is absolutely no shame in either of those losses, and I think that everyone was counting him out way too soon, okay? It's just tough because he comes in, his whole head is basically gray now, and he just looks like somebody that wouldn't be able to come in and compete in that octagon. But he absolutely can, and he has showed that. He has a ton of experience against some of the best guys, and he beat a lot of the guys that he's fought against. He's always been a very, very good, solid, underrated fighter, and one of my favorite fighters, and I will always cheer for Beneil Dariush to get the job done. But let's talk about the God of War. Benoit Saint Denis is a well-rounded and dangerous fighter who looks to, just really, really hurt and make his opponents suffer. He's one of those violent guys, where he has no problem throwing himself in there to get the win. He's great technically in the pocket. He has fantastic body kicks. He has fantastic clinch work. He has submissions, and he is insanely strong in general. The guy can come in. The guy can do it all. And he's really good at making his opponents worry about what's coming next because he's so good at mixing things up. He's very good at getting his opponents to be a little bit tentative. The only issue is that he has no problem throwing himself into a firefight. And when he does that, he's very open to being caught, showed with Dustin Poirier. But if he shows up and he fights technically, he is a problem to deal with. I was actually, for his last fight, watching the MMA fortune teller break down his most recent fight, and I wanted to note something interesting that he brought up. He said something to the extent of that he's such a dog in there that sometimes he doesn't use fight IQ. If he gets hurt, he won't defend or take a breather. He'll just come in and he'll fight harder. And because of that, he can find himself on the other side of a beating like we saw with when he fought Renato Moicano. I thought that was interesting. Anyways, he's found himself on a nice 2-fight win streak. He beat Kyle Prepolek, which unfortunately doesn't mean much, but now he is coming off of an incredible performance, shocking the world and beating Mauricio Rufy. He got a takedown early. He looked super, super strong in there, and he made Rufy think and grinded him out into a finish. This matchup is kind of funny because you have two guys who took really rough losses to some of the best, and since then bounced back to look amazing in the octagon. We need to give these UFC matchmakers right now a raise. This entire card's good. They've been doing this for a while now. But anyways, Benoit is somehow only 29, almost 30. He's in his prime. He's probably ready to go. We love the activity from him, and I love this matchup so much. It's another toughie, guys. It's another one where I can see both fighters winning this fight. I can see Beneil Dariush cranking Benoit Saint Denis, but I think I gotta go with Benoit Saint Denis and the role that he's been on. I think I gotta go with him just, grinding up Beneil Dariush a little bit. I don't think that Beneil Dariush will grind up Benoit Saint Denis the way that we just saw him do Renato Moicano, because Renato Moicano, as much as I love him, the guy is very well out of his prime. Benoit Saint Denis is back on a roll. The guy's got murderous intent, but I can, picture this, okay? I can see a world too, and I'm picking Benoit Saint Denis. I think the most likely case is for him to win. I see a world where exactly like the type of thing that we were describing with Benoit Saint Denis happens. He's teeing off on Beneil Dariush, looking great, mixing in the body kicks. Beneil's hurt. Beneil's chinned. Boom, overhand, Gamrot style from Beneil Dariush. Benoit Saint Denis is down. Beneil Dariush going for the finish. Can you not see something like that happening with Benoit Saint Denis? I don't know, man. I'm going to give a slight lean, like a 60-40 over here to Benoit Saint Denis. He's younger. He's got the momentum on over here. And Beneil Dariush, he's unfortunately past his prime. Like I said, he's got it, but he is past his prime. I'm going to go with Benoit Saint Denis. Very close. Very tough fight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Beneil Dariush gets the job done because, again, Beneil Dariush is one of my favorite fighters. I hope he wins. I've been watching him forever, always cheering for Beneil. But I'm going to go with a slight lean over to Benoit Saint Denis. Let's see what the odds say over here. And Benoit Saint Denis is setting the average odds of minus 211. I'm not touching this one. I'm not even touching a round line on this one. Let's see. Over 2.5 is that plus money. It's almost a little bit tempting, isn't it? I think it's most likely that we see a finish on this fight on either end. But yeah, I'm not going to touch this one. I'm giving a very, very slight lean to Benoit Saint Denis. But we cheer for Beneil Dariush over here on this channel. Now, guys, let me stop you just one more time. As you might know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. We upload daily commentaries on multiple channels in different niches in YouTube. So if you are interested, if you happen to like my commentary, if you happen to like anything that I put out, we have our toes dipped into different niches on YouTube. And you can check out any of the other channels with the link tree at the top of the description or the direct link to those channels in the description down below. We've been seeing a little bit of bleed over from the communities, and it has been very nice to see. I appreciate your time over here, and I appreciate it even more if you go check out the other channels. Regardless, wherever you are, if you stay here, I appreciate it. It's just an option if you happen to like me, if you happen to like my commentary, want something in the background. Again, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Like, comment, subscribe, help the algorithm out. Let's push these videos out. Thank you so much for letting me, waste your time over here. Let's get into the featured bout, guys. All right, guys, and for the featured bout over here, we circle over to Leon Rocky Edwards making his return against the surging contender Carlos Prates in another amazing, amazing matchup by the UFC. Let's break these two guys down. We'll start with Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards himself is an incredibly well-rounded, patient fighter who is complete at pretty well all aspects of MMA except like hardcore Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The only thing that he really also doesn't do is brawl. He'll stay on the outside, he'll work his own technical game, but there is a massive hole. And somehow that we've kind of just all found that out, and that is Leon Edwards has no heart. He gives up when the going gets tough. From just looking at the guy, sometimes you can just see in the octagon that there's nothing left. Not one bit of intent in his eyes. And it's funny how we're just finding this out now after one of, like, you know, the best win streaks of all time. It just all came to a big halt. He is now on a 2-fight skid, getting completely outworked by Belal Muhammad and dominated by Sean Brady. He's still in his prime at 34 years old, and he's going to have to, like, really come in there and put it together soon, man, because time is ticking for Leon Edwards, and it hasn't been looking so good in his last couple performances over here, but gotta gas this guy up a little bit. Let's talk about Carlos Prates, and Carlos Prates, guys, he is a dangerous, patient, and powerful striker with very versatile kicks and a lot of pressure. It isn't just kicks, though. He has a complete striking skill set. He has great timing, a ton of weapons, like I mentioned, and really slick movement with all of that. Historically, I loved when he used his lead leg like a jab, but he's kind of like moved away from that a little bit since joining the UFC. I thought that was an excellent and very unique way to fight, and I kind of always wondered why he ended up switching that thing up. But anyways, Carlos Prates, he's one of those guys that you can never count out of a fight. He is always present in the octagon. He also has good cardio, he is very durable, and he has decent takedown defense to keep things back up on the feet. Now, the only issue that I have with Carlos Prates, and I talk about this in every single breakdown of his, is that he is very into smoking cigarettes and enjoys the party, okay? One day, this is going to catch up to him, but it hasn't yet. But he's not immune to it at all. Right now, he's in his prime, and he is a nice matchup over here, okay? He'll have a nice 4-inch reach advantage, which he'll definitely be able to utilize, but that time is coming, okay? But anyways, for Carlos, I've been very high on him for a while now, and I know that people have kind of checked out from the fighting nerds, but the reality is, all of them are good fighters, and in my opinion, Carlos and Gene Silva really stand out as actually, like, phenomenal fighters with potential championships in their names down the road. I think they're excellent from the fighting nerds. Doesn't matter that they lost already, they're great, and Carlos showed that after losing to Ian Gary, which, by the way, that is a very, very good loss to have, he was present in there, but unfortunately he was just beat. He even almost ended up finding a finish in that at the end of that fight too, just further proving that, like I said, you can't count him out of a fight. After that performance, he bounced back and he absolutely shined against Jeff Neal. He literally came in there and he reconvinced me that this guy could be a champion. I am so excited to watch Carlos Prates perform again, and I'm excited to see him take on like a major step up in competition over here against Leon Edwards. I don't know. There are so many fights in this card that's tough to pick, man. I'm going to go with Carlos Prates. I'm going to pick him because of the momentum swing that he's been on. He's been coming in there and he's been killing guys. And I can't really pick Leon Edwards right now after watching him. It looked like he kind of gave up in his last couple performances. You know, when he starts losing, like I just talked about, he doesn't have any heart, like, which is crazy that we found that out after he had after he got the champion. He's just like, looks so defeated. Even when he beat Kamaru Usman, until that 5th round, he was kind of sitting there in the corner like, oh, whatever, I'm getting beat. Whatever. That's not really the mentality of a guy that I want to pick moving forward against a guy like Carlos Prates. But I do see a world where Leon Edwards works in the wrestling game over here. I think that he can. He has good enough takedowns where he can take down Carlos Prates. But Carlos Prates, he's been training with some good guys, and I'm sure that he has very good grappling, and he has shown to have good defense. I see a world where Leon Edwards works in the wrestling and gets the job done, but I got to pick Carlos Prates. I got to pick him. He's looked so fast, so slick in there, so crisp in there. He's been coming in and killing these guys. He can definitely chin Leon Edwards. I'm going to pick Carlos Prates. He's also, I didn't mention this, he's going to have a reach advantage. He can definitely utilize that against Leon Edwards. I could see the chaos kind of working for him, and he might be able to overwhelm the patient game that Leon Edwards has. I think that he is a better striker in the sense where, like, Leon Edwards just won't be able to use his counters against him. I think Carlos is going to be just flat out better on the feet. The path to victory for Leon Edwards will be to wrestle, not even just clinch, because those knees can come up out of nowhere. The more I'm talking about this, the more I'm convinced that Carlos Prates is going to get the job done. I'm going to pick Carlos Prates. I hope that he wins. Very, very fun guy to watch. Let's take a look at the odds over here. And Carlos Prates, sitting at the average odds favorite of -204. That kind of, the more I've been talking about that, the more I kind of want to bet on this, but I wasn't planning on betting on this fight. There's a couple spots that I do like on this card, and of course we've been open about Chepe Mariscal. Over 2.5 is at -143, with under 2.5 being at +108. I don't know about betting on this one. I don't know. I think Carlos Prates is right to be the favorite, though. and I'm going to pick him to get the job done. I'm picking Carlos Prates to win. Now, guys, we have one of two super fights on this card, and we are having Valentina Shevchenko taking on Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang going up in division to take on who a lot of people believe to be one of the greatest female athletes of all time. In my opinion, we have number 1 versus number 2. Number 1 being Weili Zhang taking on the number 2 women's fighter of all time, being Valentina Shevchenko. And yes, I do not believe Amanda Nunes is in that conversation. She fought like Ronda Rousey's opponents. You know what I mean? Like that type of level, okay? Let's break down these two. I'm excited to talk about this one. We are going to be talking about Valentina Bullet Shevchenko first with this whole thing, okay? Valentina Shevchenko, guys, she is a 17-time K1 and Muay Thai champion. She is an extremely complete fighter who excels with a kickboxing and Muay Thai base. She literally has everything, though. She's always super dangerous when at range and dictating the pace. Literally, guys, like I just talked about, she's one of the best female fighters of all time. She is actually a dog in there and actively has incredible in technique. But there is a little bit of a problem with all of this. She's past her prime now. Her striking doesn't really seem to have that same oomph to it, danger to it. And she, predominantly comes in with a grappling game plan nowadays. Thankfully for her, Valentina Shevchenko is also an amazing grappler. But she isn't exactly the same dangerous woman that she always was. She's 37 years old now, and it's also important to note that, while I did mention that she's past her prime, she is still definitely an amazing fighter and better than her entire division. The only question is she better than Weili Zhang? She will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this bout, and shockingly, she's been a little bit inactive as champion, to be honest. We all know this now. It's just I didn't expect it to be that much of a gap. Since that weird decision to Alexa Grasso, she came back, she fought a perfect, safe fight the entire time, then beat Vanna Farrow, which has honestly aged very well. I am actually very excited for this fight. This is a proper contender for Valentina Shevchenko. But now let's talk about Weili Zhang, guys. Weili Zhang is also a very complete fighter, has great technique in all aspects of MMA. She has great striking, wrestling, BJJ, cardio, and all of the heart in the world. She is one of the best female athletes of all time, and in my opinion, she is by far the greatest female fighter of all time. And yes, like I said, I believe both of these to be above Amanda Nunes, in my opinion. No question, in my opinion, okay? Now for Weili, guys. There's not much to say about her record besides, for the most part, it has just been a flat-out demolition run. No matter who this chick goes up against, she completely outclasses them. 100%. With the only, fight being against Yan Xiaonan, where she looked good and she went to battle in that bout, but she just clearly got the better of, everything there, even just getting 2 finishes in one fight. It's been nothing but absolutely shining for Weili when she's in the octagon. Shockingly now, though, with Weili Zhang, she's 36 years old, and I had no idea that she was actually getting up there in age. And that's probably because she's been coming in and still performing like she's a perfect 28-year-old. There is absolutely no slowing down in any realm of possibility with this girl right now, unlike with what we've seen with Valentina, to be honest. So I expect her to show up the same way. And for those of you who are watching this video and those of you who are betting men, it's important to note that one day, probably sooner than later, that past her prime version of Weili Zhang is just kind of going to show up. Suddenly, she's not going to be so dominant, maybe a little bit slower, things like that. The last thing I wanted to mention, of course, is that this will by far be the toughest test that Weili Zhang has ever had. Maybe a prime Joanna can only match it. To be honest, I would argue that both ways. I think this is I think this is more important when talking about Weili, though, because she's going up a division. She's never taken on anybody of this caliber before, and she's not used to fighting at this weight. And I know that, again, you could say the same thing about Valentina, opponent-wise. But Valentina's dominated girls 2 divisions above Weili for a long time. And while the lighter man's skill typically exists, I worry for Weili in these specific circumstances. Again, both fighters, they have their toughest test, but there are more questions about how Weili will look moving up a division and facing tougher talent. I would imagine that she's going to come in, she's going to look faster, she's going to fill in well. If you've looked at Weili, she is just jacked beyond belief. I think she's going to come in and look good, but if you're a betting man, that's something important to take into consideration. And guys, I have actually a shockingly simple way to look at this fight when I am giving my official prediction for it. You have the greatest female fighter of all time in Weili Zhang taking on number 2, and number 2 is past her prime. I'm going to pick Weili Zhang. I know that I just said I have questions about her coming up a division, and I think that's important to note, and that's why you definitely need to pay attention to that if you're a betting man. Weili has beat better opponents than Valentina Shevchenko has. Weili is still on a roll, unlike Valentina Shevchenko. Well, Valentina's in a little bit of a roll, but she's not, like I said, she's not that same killer that she once was. If this was a prime Valentina Shevchenko that we're talking about, then I'd sit down and be like, you know what? I definitely see a path to victory for Valentina. And I kind of still do, but I'm not betting against Weili Zhang. She is the greatest female fighter of all time. She's coming in there and she's killing girls, and it wouldn't shock me if she came in and killed Valentina Shevchenko too. I'm actually really interested to see what the grappling exchanges look like. I hope this isn't just a striking affair because I want to know who's a better grappler. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm going to pick Weili Zhang. I forget if I mentioned, I'm sorry, that Valentina will have a little bit of a reach advantage. She can definitely use that, but she hasn't been working the striking game too much lately. I'm picking Weili Zhang to get the job done. She's kind of like the same reasoning like Chepe Mariscal. She's going to come in and she's going to fight, and I know that. Obviously, it's a little bit different in the divisions there, but Weili's going to be my pick. I hope that she gets a job done, though, too. I would like to see Weili Zhang become double champion. She's so wholesome. Weili Zhang is set at the very, 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 very small average odds favorite of 114. It's basically a pick'em fight. I think those are probably correct odds to have him at a pick'ems fight. Let's see what the round line's over here. Over 4.5, I think this is going to go to decision, eh? Minus 182. Probably will end up going to a decision. Yeah, I can't really see either fighter finishing each other, but this is, again, like, I haven't been this excited for a WMMA fight in a very, very long time. And we have two really good WMMA fights this time, and Fatima Klein, too. WMMA is going to be cooking on this card. I'm excited. I hope Weili wins. I think Weili's going to win. Very tempting to bet on Weili for the value that you're getting her at. Crazy. All right, guys, let's move on to the main event of the evening over here. We have Jack Della Maddalena taking on Islam Makhachev in another super fight. You have two of the best fighters in the world going at it, and this is a true super fight. I am so excited for this matchup, and if any fight on this card falls out, I'm going to be majorly disappointed. I'm looking forward to literally every matchup on this card. I had a lot of fun breaking down these fights today, guys, so if you're enjoying it, let me know. Comment down below what you think about everything. Let's break down this main event together, starting with Jack Della Maddalena. Jack Della Maddalena, guys, he is a well-rounded fighter, but he is primarily a boxer with a really solid jab and very good and still improving takedown defense. If he hits the ground, he is decent at getting back up to his feet, and he does offer some offense, off of his back. Basically, you could look at this guy as a master of the fundamentals, and he shows that in the cage. His takedown defense is very interesting for a boxer as well, and this is something that I was excited to talk about, and that's why he's also been able to be so effective in the octagon. Typically, a lot of boxers will, of course, use a main high guard, and that makes them susceptible to takedowns. Jack keeps his high guard, but he changes levels and sometimes kind of backs up at the same time that he puts his high guard up. It's very unique and it's very effective. And in general, he's always in there and he's always changing levels, even when he comes in and he punches. He is always using that. He's always putting himself in a place where he's ready for takedowns without sacrificing any of his boxing techniques. He's also very good at, in general, just adjusting mid-fight. We've seen him sometimes in fights where if someone happens to, catch his rhythm and he's able to counter Jack Della Maddalena, he does an excellent job kind of like leaving his punches out there as a frame to easier end up slipping any counters, and then continues to use his arm as leverage, as a safety angle to kind of like slip out of the way, representing position and, just trying to get to the next technique and adjusting and beating his opponents that way. So he's been looking good, man. Jack's been on a roll in the division. There's been a lot of talk on whether or not he's been overhyped as a champion. I personally don't think so. We've seen a technical warrior in there who's kind of like made his way to the top of the division. Do I think he's unbeatable? Absolutely not. But he is a solid champion who is not overrated one little bit, in my opinion. And guys, it's really cool to see a champion that is like just entered his prime pretty well too, because we have years of performances and improvements that we could see out of him, and he's already taken on some fun guys too. And speaking of performances, he's coming off of one of his arguably best performances against Belal Muhammad, and an incredible fight where he still shows like he is improving as an athlete and an MMA fighter. Prior to that, unfortunately, guys, the value of his resume could definitely be better for someone that has reached championship status, but he has still he's had a great performance against some really good guys. He absolutely proved that he belongs at the top, and in this matchup with Islam Makhachev over here, he will have a slight reach advantage, which he can definitely use, okay? While Jack himself, he's not like the most rangy guy in the world, He has excellent fundamentals and can really start popping that jab off with a reach advantage. It should come in handy. He is a great fighter. He is still improving, and he is still a very newly motivated champion. This is a massive, massive matchup for him. I cannot wait to watch these two go at it. But of course, we also need to break down Islam Makhachev with that. Islam Makhachev himself, guys, he is a very complete fighter whose biggest strength is his pure sambo. But he can do everything at the highest level. Fighters often talk about Islam Makhachev and how deceptively strong he is in the cage. The only critique that I have with Islam is that he can be hittable as fights goes on, and we've seen that in multiple fights, but he is just flat out one of the most complete and greatest fighters of all time. The pound for pound number one, a lot of people believe, and his record shows that, man. While most recently he defeated a kind of short notice Renato Moicano and went to war with a past his prime version of Dustin Poirier, he does have wins over phenomenal guys like especially a prime version of Charles Oliveira and especially a prime Alexander Volkanovski, which in my opinion is quite literally the greatest win any fighter could possibly get. Prime Alexander Volkanovski is, in my opinion, the greatest fighter of all time. And to get the job done over the prime version of Alexander Volkanovski in a 5-round battle is just incredible. While some of the wins Islam Makhachev hasn't exactly aged the best, he is undoubtedly one of the greatest fighters to ever do it, and he is still in his prime and performing. Of course, he will be moving up a division here like we just talked about Weili. It seems like he's going to fit into the division well. I hear people talk about how hard his weight cuts have been and how much muscle he's actually been putting on moving up to 170, kind of like things like that. So it looks like he's going to fill in, but we won't know for sure until we actually see him inside that octagon or even maybe the weigh-ins, the face-off, things like that just throughout fight week. Also, historically, the lighter man's skill typically plays an effect in these types of bouts, and I would imagine that would only be escalated here with a guy in Islam Makhachev, who, again, is quite literally one of the greatest fighters in the world and, like, maybe of all time, on his track for GOAT status. He is also probably extremely motivated on this new journey and to cement himself as one of the undoubtable GOATs in the world of MMA. I cannot wait to watch this matchup. This is, again, guys, and I don't know how many times I need to say it, this is excellent matchmaking by the UFC over here, guys. It's tough to pick against Islam Makhachev. It really is. I have a gut feeling that Jack Della Maddalena is going to be the guy to get the job done this time around, guys. Islam Makhachev, and what's stopping me here is Islam Makhachev gets hit quite a bit in his bouts, especially, you know, when he starts going to war a little bit, and I don't think that he's going to have a really quick finish against Jack Della Maddalena. I don't think we're going to see a quick submission finish. I think these two are going to go to battle, and he hasn't faced anybody who hits as hard as Jack Della Maddalena, and Jack is a violent hitter. I could see him teeing off on Islam Makhachev. I can't help but think about how much Dustin Poirier was actually landing on Islam Makhachev, and I think that Jack landing on Islam will be a little bit more of an issue right there. It's going to be tough. They'll probably end up going to a decision. It would not shock me if we've seen a finish from Jack Della Maddalena. Plus, Jack does seem supremely motivated and confident in himself to get the job done. He should be, man. He's been looking real good. He could definitely use that range. I could see him stuffing that jab in Islam's face, and I think that he will have very underrated grappling and takedown defense. Again, the way that he's able to keep his boxing fundamentals in front of your face while still getting ready for takedowns, not a lot of guys with the skill set of Jack Della Maddalena bring that kind of to the octagon, and I think that he might be a little bit of a bad matchup for Islam. I do. I'm very tempted to bet on this fight. He is certainly an underdog opportunity, but at the same time, Islam's 27-1, beats some of the best guys of all time. He's one of the pound-for-pound best. The lighter man's skill could absolutely come into play here, but I'm going to pick Jack Della Maddalena. And it's tough, man, because I like both guys. I hope Islam wins. I like Islam a lot. I'd rather have him win. I like him more as a guy. Not that I don't like Jack Della Maddalena, don't get me wrong. Love watching both of these guys. Dude, there's so many fights on this card where it's a shame that somebody has to end up losing because both of them are highly respectable athletes. I would like to see Islam get the title, become a two-weight world champion. I would love to see the matchups. Like, could you imagine Sean Brady gets a job done, then fights Islam Makhachev? That would be real fun. I'd love to see that. But I think that Jack Della Maddalena is going to piece him up. I think it's going to be a battle at the beginning, but as the fight continues and goes on, I think Jack Della Maddalena is going to take over, and I think that he might end up finding a finish. Jack is going to be my pick. He's in his prime, looking good. New champion, newly motivated. I'm picking him to win. I don't know what the odds are going to be for this one, but I would imagine that he is going to be the underdog over here. Yeah, obviously. Islam Makhachev sitting in the minus 268 favorite over here. Certainly an underdog opportunity for Jack Della Maddalena. I think he is very live over here. I think Islam should be a slight favorite. I do. Let's see what the round lines are over here. Ooh, over and under 3.5. That's tough. Again, I see a world with a finish. I don't think that Islam's going to finish Jack, but I think Jack could finish Islam. I am so excited for this fight. We have a true super fight on our hands and a phenomenal card in general. Let me know what you thought about the breakdown down below. Look out for the betting gun. It's going to be coming out in a couple days, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Check out this other video. YouTube thinks that you like this video the best. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Take care, everybody.